Hello and welcome again. This is Ricky Gomez again for the persuasive speech on the subject I decided to choose was dress code in high schools. This is my for speech, so I'm only going to say good things toward it. So, beginning with this, what is a dress code? I think it's self-explanatory, and for those who can't get the little hints there, is that a dress code is something that is made that puts certain restrictions on what you are to wear and what you cannot, or how you are supposed to look. Each dress code differs to different areas and different things. And in Texas, I'm pretty sure that about 90% of our community schools do require a dress code. In my high school in San Diego, we are required to wear a royal blue polo shirt. And the next part was just recently added this year. Since our AC was broken down, they modified it to where we were allowed to wear our blue spirit shirts. It let us be a little bit more relaxed during the time, during this year. It's right now on debate whether we're gonna do it again, but spirit shirts are allowed to be worn on Fridays, on our pep rally days, and you can't just go and grab a shirt from the store that says a band name or in blue and gold or whatever your school colors are, but spirit shirts are defined as something you purchased or earned through a school activity. So if you got a shirt at a powerlifting meet, you can get that. Or if you were in band and you went to, let's say, La Jolla for a football game, and you bought a band shirt, you're allowed to wear that. But you're only allowed to wear specific brands of jeans. Some are not allowed, such as jeans already torn. They have like the cuts, rips, and certain brands like Dickies. You can't wear those types of brands, but you must have a belt, and all shirts must be tucked in at all times. You cannot have any form of caps, so you can't have your hood on if you have a jacket. You can't have a baseball cap. You can't have a beanie. You must have. You. Sorry for. I'm trying to rethink on what our school dress code was, but you can't have hoodies or pullover hoodies. You can only have the hoodies or jackets, whatever you call them, with zippers, buttons. And there's several other rules. How you can't bring in a canned soda, like a Coke, into the cafeteria because it is unhealthy, and yet they until recently you have to pay for extra food, but that's understandable and all. But either way, other things in the dress code was males must have their hair cut to a certain length. They cannot pass your bangs cannot pass your eyebrows. Your sides of your hair cannot go over your ears. Your ears must be showing at all time. Your sideburns cannot be past the lobe of your ear, and you can't have like facial piercings at all. earrings for the guys. They can't have, or those new things, gauges. Those things have, you can't have. Guys can't have their nails painted for the exception of the color guard males when they have a certain event going on, like a pep rally. They go and paint their nails for whatever reason. But those are just a few of the rules that our school has. Some of the history of the dress code is until recently, schools across the country have experienced things such as violence, gang activity, and thefts of clothing and accessories. Many of the school boards, thinking of their responsibility, have provided a safe school environment for students. They have implemented policies of specifying the way they're supposed to dress for school. Back in 1968, a group of adults and students in the Des Moines, something or another, can't really pronounce that, and forgive me for that, but in Iowa, they wore black armbands to school to publicize their objections to the hostilities in Vietnam. Though their school had created a system to prevent them from wearing these armbands, they still wore them. And the policy was that if any student or person was caught wearing these armbands in their school grounds, they would be suspended until they return without that armband. The Tinker versus Des Moines Independent Community School District happened in 1969. And to their luck, the Supreme Court ruled in their favor of the students and the adults who did wear their armbands. And the Supreme Court stated that in order for the state to the person of school officials to justify prohibition of a particular expression of opinion, a student must engage in a forbidden conduct that would be materially and substantially interfere with school requirements of appropriate discipline in the operations of the school. Years later, the Tinker exception was expanded in the Bethel School District versus Fraser. In Fraser, a student deliberately delivered a sexually explicit and graphic nominating speech to 600 students. The Supreme Court held that it is appropriate for a school to disassociate itself from speech that is vulgar, lewd, and wholly inconsistent with the fundamental values of public school education. After that case, those exceptions were further broadened in the Hazelwood School District versus Colmea, or something like that. My pronunciation is not very good, sorry. But this case was concerned to the extent to which educators may exercise editorial control over the contents of a high school newspaper produced as a part of the school's journalism curriculum. The Supreme Court held that the educators do not offend the First Amendment by exercising editorial control over the style and content of student speech in school-sponsored expressive activities as long as their actions are reasonably related to legitimate pedagogical whatever concerns. Today, courts review that the facts of particular dress code punishment and determine whether or not the student violation rises to a level of material and substantial vulgar and lewd and or school-sponsored speech in which school officials are entitled to exercise greater control. And that means is that school officials are allowed to control things into a certain level. When those levels are starting, when students are passing and not listening, exceeding what is not was not regulated, such as they continue to cuss or use vulgar language, they do not follow the rules. They are allowed. The school officials are allowed to make things a little bit harsher toward them. But now, in the state of California, as many as 25% of the nation's public elementary, middle, and junior high schools were expected to implement dress-related policies during the 1997 to 98 school year, according to the California School News. On March 31st, 1997, now 10 states allow school districts to mandate school uniforms. Educators and the public are divided over the value of implementing school uniform policies. This digest examines arguments for and against school uniforms. Policies identifies legal considerations and offers guidelines for implementing policies on student dress. After this little history lesson and some new facts, you must be wondering, why is it good? Well, at times, if you're not attending private schools, they are cheap and affordable. They represent a form of school pride, a sense of unity, and it brings people together, being able to relate to different things instead of being worried about how they look in their normal clothes. It does look clean and organized and helps avoid being different. Yes, it is good to be different, but is it really so good to be picked on because of it? And the school uniforms help bringing down that level of being more out. It does erase cultural differences. It enhances grades, so because of people not having to worry about, oh, they don't like my dress or whatever. I got a bad pair of jeans today, and they're making fun of me, and then now you're distracted with the whole class. The dress codes allow a feeling of being safe. You're not no longer going to be made fun of. You don't have to worry about society making fun of you because of how you dress normally. It improves classroom behavior, and that some of these facts are based on the studies of Caruso and many others. But it lessens the pressure on parents trying to keep up with their kids, wanting to have, the latest fashion. Oh, Dad, get me these new shoes or whatever. It gives you parents and a one less thing you have to worry about. As I said earlier, it does help identify who shouldn't be there. So if a guy coming up with a random bag goes into the school and he's not part of the faculty and he looks out of place wearing a denim jacket or a sweatshirt, some sweatpants or whatever, and that's not part of the school code, and that helps identify that one person as he's not supposed to be here, let's get him out. It reduces gang influence and minimizes violence due to types of clothes. So you don't have to worry about your kid being picked on for, oh hey, your shirt looks nice or whatever, or your shirt it's all ghetto or whatever. It does help improve grades, as I did say earlier, on being more attentive, and it does improve attendance because they won't be worrying about on how they look on their clothes. They don't have to spend an hour going picking up the next new thing, trying to find the sneakers that go along with your shirt and cap or whatever. And that just leaves me. I could go all day explaining the good things about the having a dress code, but that's not what this thing is about. It's about what you think now. Do you think it's necessary for your child? Or is it necessary for you, for those students who are watching this? Does it really help you, and do you think it would be worse if you were wearing normal clothes? Just a little time to think on that. I hope I put a positive spin on this and help you see a good side and to the dress codes.